street lamps casting long shadows across the driveway. The scent of rain hung heavy in the air. Wet concrete, cracked pavement, distant thunder, that lull before a storm. My hands were damp. My heart pounded so hard I felt each beat in my throat. Dad's house looked just as I remembered. Tall windows framed with lace curtains, a porch swing creaking softly in the breeze, the front porch light flickering. But comfort once felt immediately was elusive now. I felt more like a guest than a daughter. Inside, laughter bubbled in the living room. Curtains parted in pools of lamplight. Uncle Robert, Aunt Rebecca, and Cousin Laura are all distinct family members who represent expectations. The aroma of roast chicken, baked potatoes, garlic, and pepper mashed potatoes crowded my senses. Used to mean home. Now it felt like a stage. Emily, you made it. Aunt Rebecca's voice lifted me briefly. She hugged me hard, her perfume, vanilla and something spicy, still familiar. Thanks, I said, squeezing back. Attempted to smile. He guided me in. Just in time for dinner. Daniel will want to speak to you. Her eyes flicked to Daniel Carter, my brother, standing by the buffet, wine glass in hand. He looked polished. Tailored shirt, neat slacks, his posture rigid. He glanced at me, expressing me tightly. Mother hovered nearby, draped in a shawl. Her face lit when she saw me, then flickered with something else. Relief, concern, question. Are you okay? I greeted each other. Shook Uncle Robert's hand. Embraced Cousin Laura. Tried to laugh at jokes about traffic and work across the country. But I felt outside those laughs. Then, in the lull between courses, Daniel cleared his throat. The hum of conversations faltered. The music from the speakers softened. He began, family. We all turned. The air stiffened. Daniel raised his wine glass. To family. To trust. And to Emily, who we adore as Emily. Additionally, to Emily, whose inquiries have not been addressed. Be silent. Mother's hand was stilled. Uncle Robert's fork hovered midair. I felt my lips part closed. Daniel's eyes held me. We've seen bank transfers under your name. Invoices showing that you were paid for consulting services. Yet when we audit, when we reconcile, we find mismatches. Money is missing. Documents have changed. We need an explanation. My throat closed. Daniel. He carried on. If you have nothing to hide, Emily, you'll show us the proof. But until then. Shaking my voice, I got up. I didn't do what you accuse me of. If funds are missing or documents wrong, I want to help fix it. But I never authorized mislabeling or forgery. Aunt Rebecca stood. Emily, then show us the bank statements. We believe you want to do what's right. Daniel's eyes hardened. You have 1 week. After that, the family deserves clarity. He set his glass down. Clink. Voices murmured. Plates shifted. I retreated to the back of the room. The laughter resumed but fractured. I stood by the window. The rain outside pressed against the glass. My chest was stung. Shame, fear, anger coiled in me. Too quickly came morning. I fled the house before dawn, driving back to the small apartment I'd rented while working out of state. The city lights still twinkled despite the drizzle. Wet roads reflect street lamps and traffic slicks. Inside, I collapsed onto the bed surrounded by files. My laptop is open. Coffee strong. Notebooks, bank statements, past emails. All in disarray. My mind raced. Did I miss an email? Was there something I overlooked? Could someone use my name? I called James Miller, my accountant. On video, his face is haggard. Emily, I'm pulling audit logs. Bank statements, ledger backups. There are irregularities. Entries renamed. A transfer from a client abroad matches funds in your accounts. But the ledger shows that line later under a different name, an entity you've never heard of, Grant Enterprises. My heart jolted. Grant Enterprises? That is not who I am. He nodded. Not you. The metadata shows that entry was edited after initial record. Labels changed. And the external auditor's comments were flagged but not included in final summary. I swallowed. Send me everything. All versions. Screenshots. Email headers. Transfers in the form of copies. A steady stream of messages from family members asked, "Are you sure you want to go that far? That how are you? People are going to think the worst." I ignored most. Isolation grew. Mother's voice quiet. Aunt Rebecca is polite but distant. Cousin Laura's texts minimal. Even close friends were hesitant. I visited my childhood room at Dad's house under the guise of picking up old notebooks. Walls still with pictures. Me and Daniel as kids, mother smiling, Dad folding laundry. In a desk drawer I found old receipts, notebooks, and my copies of invoices from clients. I scanned, photographed, and compared them later. One cold night I met with Samuel Lee, the junior auditor, in a small cafe. He pulled a sealed envelope. These are original logs. Backups, copies I made before changes. I was asked to stay silent. I couldn't. He handed me digital files and printouts. My hands shook as I took them. Gratitude, fear, resolve coursed through me. I didn't sleep much that week. Listening to cars outside, rain pattering. Lay awake thinking, what if I say something wrong? What if the evidence fails? What would happen if the family never accepted the truth? But other thoughts rose. I must do this. I must speak truth even if I tremble. The next morning dawned gray with drizzle. The sky heavy with rain was about to break. My laptop was flashing with audit logs as I awoke in the small apartment I'd rented while working from home in the area, surrounded by printed documents, receipts, and emails. My heart felt raw, exposed. I sipped cold coffee, staring at the stacks. I combed through one ledger backup, entry after entry, dates, amounts. Then comparing to the newer ledger. Mismatched names, entries shifted, one large transfer labeled under Grant Enterprises instead of under Emily Carter, Consulting. My accountant, James Miller, and I made a video call appointment. On screen, his face flickered, dark circles under his eyes. He said quietly, "Emily, I found the audit logs you asked for. Here's what I see. Backups from 2 audit cycles. In one, your name is clearly on the consulting fee transfer. In the revised file, it's replaced with Grant Enterprises, initials match someone in Mr. Grant's office. The metadata shows file edits after the backup and after auditing started. Also, the external auditor raised concerns, but in the final report, those sections are omitted." My stomach became tense. "So, you think the records were changed while I was out of state?" "Yes. From what I can tell, the edits were made on a workstation connected to Daniel's network, not on a device he uses every day. Another entity had access." I sighed. Relief and rage collided. Okay. All that proof, screenshots, metadata logs, external auditors' memos, digital signatures, witness statements, they'll all be necessary. We spent the rest of the day assembling. Headers for emails. Bank confirmations from clients abroad. Fielding messages from family, some supportive, many cautious. Meanwhile, communication at home cooled down. Mother's voice, once warm on calls, now a whisper. Texts from Aunt Rebecca avoided the subject. Laura's cousin inquired subtly, "Is everything okay, Em?" One evening, I traveled back to my childhood home to retrieve old documents. In many places, the house was pitch black and dust specks floated in lamplight. The room I grew up in had pastel wallpaper, pictures of Daniel and I dressed alike for school, and trophies on a shelf. I found old invoices, photocopies of bank statements, handwritten notes. I lined everything up back in my apartment. The original bank transfer from an overseas client, the email thread confirming that transfer, the ledger backup showing an entry under my name, the newer ledger labeling the same amount under Grant Enterprises, and logs showing edits, signature changes, and file names changed. But there were false leads. A file I believed was forged turned out to be just misdated metadata. Some entries seemed ambiguous. Daniel denied everything in private conversations as though he believed or was told the story himself. Then Samuel Lee, the junior auditor whom I met under the hum of cafe lights, slid me a sealed envelope. Printouts of the backup versions, affidavits he had quietly gathered, and internal memos were all contained within. He spoke softly. I was afraid. I didn't want to destroy what remains of trust. But when I saw the edits, I couldn't stay silent. Trembling, I accepted. In that moment I felt the ground shift. Everything I thought certain now had proof behind it. However, fear accompanied that shift. What if I misrepresent something? What if I can't make my voice heard? I slept all night. The rain is hitting the window. Memories of family dinners. Laughter. The sharp pang of betrayal. But also gratitude, evidence, clarity, hope. The days before the planned appearance on Morning Spotlight were a crucible. I practiced speaking, pausing, and holding the folder of documents so that cameras could see them in front of the mirror. I rehearsed speaking with steadiness even when inside I felt shaking. I called Mother. "I'm doing this on live TV," I said. Silence. Then her voice close to breaking. "Live?" "Yes." "Be careful, Emily. Be true." I closed my eyes, held the phone to my chest. "I will." I drafted what I would say. The opening, the revelation of the ledger differences, the metadata proofs, witness statements, bank confirmations. I arranged printed binders, emails, audit backup files, transcripts. Producers confirmed Daniel will also appear, Mr. Grant, Samuel, external auditors. The title, Truth, Betrayal, and Family Honor. At home, tension mounted. At dinner, my father tried to joke. Daniel said nothing. Aunt Rebecca avoided eye contact. Mother set the table quietly, her hands shaking ever so slightly. On the evening before, I couldn't sleep. My chest ached with anxiety. Thoughts. What if they try to ambush me? What if proof is dismissed? What if I break and cry on air? But I rebutted, stating that risk is necessary. Silence has cost too much. The studio was buzzing in the morning of the show. Cameras, lights, cables, makeup, monitors flashing. I wore a simple white blouse and dark slacks. Clean, unadorned. Truth needs no ornament. In the green room, I bet my heart could be seen in my shirt. Sandra Hill, host, smiled gently, gave me a last reassuring nod. "You know your truth. You've done the work." Then red light flashed. Cameras rolled. Tension in the crowd. Daniel sat across from me. Grant, external auditors, family representatives in seats. The sound stopped. Live broadcast began. Sandra Hill's voice came over the silence. "Good evening. Thank you for tuning in to Morning Spotlight. Tonight we dive into a deeply personal story, one of accusation, betrayal, and the fight for truth. With us, Emily Carter, whose family alleges she misused finances. Samuel Lee, Oliver Grant, and Daniel Carter, all of whom work as accountants, are also present. Emily, you own the floor." My hand tightened on the folder. Light hit the proof pages. My throat is dry. I inhaled and began. "I stand here tonight to say, I was accused of wrongdoing, of using my name to funnel money, of authorizing transfers I did not sign off on, of betraying family. But I did not. And I have proof." Sandra signaled, the screen behind me flickered. The first slide, side-by-side ledgers. On the left, original ledger entry, large consulting fee under Emily Carter. On the right, a brand new ledger with the same amount listed under Grant Enterprises. Samuel's affidavit, metadata timestamps. I paused. Eyes wide in audience. Daniel's jaw tensed. Grant shifted. "Here," I said softly but firmly, pointing to the entry. "This exact amount appeared under my name. Bank statements from the client abroad confirm the transfer. Emails asked for my signature. The backup ledger stored before edits has it. Then someone logged in using someone else's device on Daniel's network. They used new labels. Fake or altered signatures were used. The external auditor wrote concerns that were later removed from the final version." I saw a ripple of surprise. Some people leaned forward. Some cover mouths with hands. Daniel rose. Voice shaking. "Emily, these claims are serious. True, I was misled. I relied on official-looking documents. I believed in protecting family business maybe too much without asking enough questions." Sandra. "Daniel, did you know about the backups? The auditor's red flags?" He shook his head. "No. I trusted those handling finance. I thought I had invited transparency. I realize now I didn't do enough." Then Mr. Grant stood, face pale. "I made decisions under pressure. I oversaw financial misclassification to protect investments. I ordered some entries to be hidden. I didn't expect it would lead here. Hurt, suspicion, false blame. Emily, I'm sorry." The pain and betrayal now confronted made my chest feel like it might break. Sandra ended by saying, "Thank you, Emily, Daniel, and Mr. Grant, Samuel, for this difficult honesty. This is truth brought into the light." The audience applauded. Something in me that had been tight wound released. After the cameras stopped, things didn't instantly become easy, but they shifted. Mother found me backstage. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She hugged me so tightly I thought she'd crush the breath out of me. "I'm so sorry I doubted you," she whispered. Daniel approached. No arrogance now, but a sorrowful humility. I failed you. I failed by myself. I promised to make this right. Aunt Rebecca's eyes were red. She grabbed my hand. Thank you for staying true. The following days, Independent Audit Institute. Grant resigns from his position as business leader. Daniel requests new oversight and transparency in finances. The family board agrees. Friends who had pulled away reach out. Some with apologies, some just quiet support. My name in business circles formerly in question begins to be cleared. Clients confirm trust. But the hardest conversations were private. Mother crying in her room at night. Daniel is sitting outside mine, unsure how to rebuild trust. Laura, my cousin, looking at me differently, not with judgment but with admiration tinged with sadness. I realized something important. Restoring reputation is not the same as forgetting betrayal. Healing takes time. Forgiveness is not naive, it's deliberate. Late that night I lay in my bed in the apartment I now call home. Rain taps lightly on the window. The folder of evidence rests on the nightstand. My hands still tremble sometimes, not from fear but from what I've endured. What I learned. That truth, though delayed, has immense power. Even when people believe in the false, even when silence lets rumor grow, evidence and courage matter. That being accused does not define you. Identity lies in what you know of yourself, what you've done, what you can prove, not in what others assume or claim. That trust must be guarded but also given wisely. The mistake Daniel made was not believing but rather acting without verifying. Transparency and honesty must go hand in hand. That betrayal can wound deeply, but speaking your truth can begin the healing. It's painful, humbling, and vital. That kindness matters. The people who stayed, who offered support quietly, who listened when many would not mean everything. I closed my eyes that night with peace, not pride but relief. The shame no longer holds me. The truth has been told. Justice has been done. I feel worthy once more. A year later, the business thrives under new oversight. Daniel and I work together sometimes. I consult. Our relationship is real even though it's not perfect. Mother's laughter is more open. Aunt Rebecca nods at me differently. Laura drops by more often. I often think of that night on Morning Spotlight. The manner in which the screen lit up behind me. The way Daniel's eyes shifted. How silence was finally broken. I keep the folder of evidence in my mind, including the names and timestamps of the backups, emails, and ledger copies in case anyone ever doubts me again. And that's enough. When Emily Carter returns home for a family dinner after building a high-stakes life away, she expects tension, maybe even astonishment. But not the moment when her brother Daniel points fingers. "You stole from the business," he says, loud enough for everyone to hear. Shock, shame, betrayal hit her in waves. Accused of financial crime she didn't commit, Emily faces a gut-wrenching choice. Stay silent and watch her reputation crumble or fight back alone. Instead of giving up, Emily digs. Bank statements, overseas transfers, ledger backups, and witness affidavits. Piece by painful piece she gathers proof. She uncovers how someone manipulated records, used forged signatures, and misused Daniel's credentials to frame her. Trust fractures in her family. Whispers swell. False evidence seems to tip the balance. Her world becomes a storm of doubt, questions, and emotional wounds. At her breaking point, she demands the stage she deserves. A live TV show. On air, Emily lays out every document, every discrepancy, every faceless betrayal. Confrontations ripple across the screen. Apologies are forced. Denials crumble. In the raw exposure of truth, justice begins. Slowly, painfully, but undeniably. This is not just a story of accusation, it's one of courage, reclamation, and the power of truth. Emily shows us that when others believe the lie, you can still choose to speak. That even in deepest betrayal, redemption can come when truth shines. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you were in Emily's shoes, falsely accused by someone you love and trusted, would you confront the liar publicly and risk more pain, or try to clear your name quietly and risk never fully being believed?